So today's kind of a unique day because I have not been doing much private lending in a while, but I actually have probably one of the last few notes that I had out from a few years ago. This was actually originated 3 years ago. A client came to me with a very large portfolio of small multifamily and duplexes in Muskegon, ranging from 15 to $45,000. And when I looked over this deal, one of the things I noticed is that, I was very confident I could sell all of these deals very quickly for my client. The problem though is that, making $3,000, $5,000 a pop, as if you hear me talk about frequently, wasn't necessarily worth my time. So I want to go into this because this is kind of how I made this worth my time. But to give you a little bit of background in Muskegon, and this definitely isn't the case necessarily today, but it's often hard to get a realtor or somebody interested in dealing in that area because one, if it's a rental, they have a rental inspection that's required by the city for the seller to sell it to you. So they basically find the seller to make sure that they make improvements to you. So that's one thing that makes the issue. And two, if agents are charging 3, 4, or 5%, but they're only charging it on like a $30,000 house, it's really hard to get them motivated for like a $1,000 commission essentially. But, this portfolio, which consisted of, I don't remember the number, I think it was like 40 properties roughly. I knew that if I wanted to sell these deals, I had to find a way to make sure I sold them fast. And so what I decided to do is I basically just called up friends and people I knew that wanted to get investing. And I basically said, listen, I got these deals. I've already ran through it. I vetted them. And I'm going to lend you basically 90 to 100% of the deal. So I'm going to show you an example of what I did here. But this property, 918 Wood, I can't believe this, but that Zillow estimate is actually roughly correct. So, 3 years ago, they brought it for roughly, it was actually $22,000. I lent on it for roughly about $18,000 or $19,000. I took in some points. I think I took in about 2.5 points, which what that means basically is if you loan somebody $100,000 and you have a 1 point as a fee, that means that's $1,000 you charge them as a fee. Now, that might sound high, but when you factor in a bank might charge a $650 appraisal fee, underwriting fees, all these different things, you could easily gotten the fees up on this thing to be, worth like, 15, 20%, because if a appraisal and, underwriting fee could be $1,000 right there, that's already 5% of the total thing. So I was able to collect a number of fees up front, a few $1,000s in fees up front. But then if you see this amortization schedule over here, you see that I'm also collecting out $242 in interest a month. Now, this person is actually a friend of mine. I gave him a really good rate. I actually lent out other deals at anywhere between 10 and 12% interest with fees on top of that. But if you look at this, over 3 years, I made $8,000 on only $41,000 lent out, and I actually lent with them on 2 deals. Now, those of you that listen to me also know that whenever I lend personal money to somebody, the biggest thing what I do is I always want to make sure it's something I want to foreclose on, or that I just want to. I want them to. I don't want to say I want them to not pay me. But if it ever happens where they don't pay me, I want to be motivated to do it, because if you don't want to take the property back, then and they're not paying you, you're never going to get your money back. So ultimately, why I don't hope for them to fail. If they do fail, I know that I'm okay because it's something that I actually do want to collect. And in this case, let's say that they stopped paying me a year ago. Well, I'm perfectly happy to close on my $17,000 note and get an $80,000 property. I just take it, turn around and sell it, and then make a quick $50,000 profit. So now how this translates is that these funds, they're taxed as basically interest, like interest from a bank account, interest from a loan. However, what I've done here, though, is I actually use funds out of a 401k, or basically a self-directed, a solo 401k. So these are actually going to go back to me as a tax, basically as a tax shelter. But, I have people talk to me all the time, like, I only got $20,000. I only got $30,000. Just think about this. If you put $18,000, $20,000 into your portfolio a year, you invest it, you get it basically collateralized against real estate. This is a nice alternative for you. So if you're looking to do personal lending, I'm actually be coming out with a 3-part series kind of going over this. And so you'll be seeing that in the coming weeks here.